Hello. Can I get everyone's attention, please? Thank you. All right. Thank you all for attending today's debate. I'm gonna. Thank you all for attending today's presidential debate. My name is Gabe Savage, and I serve as the Elections Commissioner for the Student Government Association. Today, we have three tickets joining us. Ticket 1, Isaac Sutherland and Mallory Hudson. Ticket 2, Lydia Deaton, Landry Woodrum. And ticket 3, Andrew Laws and Amelia Pace. I ask that all of you keep your noise to a minimum to give our candidates the most opportunity to speak today. And I hope you all enjoy the show. And good luck to all of our candidates. I will now hand it off to our amazing moderator, Trisha, Dean of Students, Trisha Clement, and take it away.
Thank you. Welcome. This is such an exciting moment. I was reminded by one of the candidates that today is UK's birthday, right? So happy birthday to UK as well. Thank you so much for joining us for the 2022 presidential election. As was mentioned, my name is Trisha Clement Montgomery, and I am your Dean of Students. But tonight, I have the fun ability to actually be your moderator tonight. So I'm going to be asking you some questions, asking our candidates some questions, and giving them an opportunity to respond to these questions. Before we get started, there's actually some house rules and logistics I want to go through with you all. So please bear with me. To start, each candidate will be given 2 minutes to answer each question. My colleague and friend, Ms. Simone, sitting here in the green in the front row, will be our timekeeper. Simone will hold up a yellow sign when candidates have 30 seconds remaining and a red sign when time has expired. So it's very important that you all stay on time so that we can make sure we get through all the questions for tonight. Candidates will be allowed 60 seconds for rebuttal. Only one rebuttal per ticket shall be allowed per question. The timekeeping rules apply to the rebuttals as well. So our timekeeper will hold a yellow sign when the candidates have 30 seconds remaining on their response, and then a red sign when time has expired. As we go through the questions, the orders of responses will alternate. Questions will only be asked by the moderator. So that one was for my crowd. So only questions can be asked of the candidates by the moderator. When there are 10 minutes remaining in the debate, the timekeeper, Ms. Simone, will hold up a blue sign to indicate that it is time for closing statements. And then each ticket will be allowed to give a closing statement not exceeding any more than 3 minutes. Do you all understand the regulations that have been given to you? Do we have any questions before we get started? Awesome. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get our debate started for tonight. To start us out with opening statements, we would like to start with Andrew Laws and Amelia Pace.
Alrighty, hi everybody. Thank you so much for coming tonight. First, we want to mention a happy 157th birthday to UK. That's pretty awesome. But thank you guys for all coming tonight. It's so awesome to have such a large crowd here for us to spread our message to. And so awesome to see all of you care so much about UK, our policies, and who's leading the student body ultimately. So I'm Andrew Laws. I'm a candidate for student body president here at UK. I'm a junior here studying public policy and economics on a pre-law track. I've been on the Senate for 2 years now, and I'm currently serving on exec as the Appropriations and Revenue Chairman, which means I'm tasked with funding student organizations across campus.
Hi everyone, my name is Amelia Pace. I have been serving with student government for over 3 years now. I'm currently the Academic and Student Affairs Chair, and my primary responsibilities include defining student need and making sure that those needs are met through various grants and programs and other initiatives as well.
Yeah, and between me and Amelia, we have about 5 years of combined student government experience, which we think makes us the most prepared and qualified candidates to lead the student body. Our campaign is based upon 3 primary principles, and we'll go through them very quickly now.
So starting off with our first platform, accessibility and transparency, we're first and foremost dedicated to ensuring that there is an open door maintained between ourselves, our student body, as well as administration. We're dedicated to putting your needs first, not just now through our campaign, but always throughout our entire term as president and vice president. We believe that there should be a daily commitment of SGA to their students to maintain transparency in every single decision that we make for you.
Yeah, our next principle is student belonging and engagement. This is one that's super important to me just because being able to meet with the presidents of over 100 different student organizations has given me such a great idea about what this campus needs and how important it is for each student to find their own little community. So Amelia and I have personal experience working with individual students and organizations, which has given us the experience to understand how students need to find their people, because it's just something you're entitled to as a student here at UK. We really are running for these offices because we really believe that each and every student has a place here, and they deserve to have the opportunity to find that through just being included in whatever that may be.
Our third and final principle is holistic health and well-being. We're dedicated as a campaign to putting students' needs first to ensure that their time is spent as well as possible here at UK. We want to make sure that there is no doubt in any student's mind that their basic needs are met, that their physical and mental well-being is also maintained, as well as making sure that they're safe at all times during their time at campus.
Yeah, and ultimately, this is not a campaign against anyone. This is a campaign for all of you. We really do believe we have the experience needed to represent all of your needs and be true advocates for the student body as a whole. So I really appreciate the opportunity to be up here tonight, and we're looking forward to spreading our ideas to all of you. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Our next candidates will be Isaac Sutherland and Mallory Hudson.
All right. Thank you for allowing myself and Mallory to stand before you today and share our vision for UKSGA. The University of Kentucky was once a foreign entity to me. Growing up in Huntington, West Virginia, I was mere minutes from the bluegrass, but I was unknowing of the treasures that awaited me in Lexington. Upon visiting this institution, I fell in love with this campus, the community, and most importantly, the people. As someone who was completely and utterly alone upon arriving to campus for the first time, I was vulnerable but eager to connect with my school. This came into fruition as I stepped into the SGA office for the first time. I hadn't any idea of what SGA did, who it was for, or how to even be involved. But I understood the mission. It was that mission of serving students, being ambassadors for change, and equitably supporting campus that drove me to SGA. I was fortunate enough to have been accepted to SGA's Leadership Development Program my freshman year, beginning to form the rapport among faculty, staff, and leaders across campus, including Mallory. From there, I was appointed to serve the executive branch as the Director of Government Relations and Civic Engagement. In my tenure, I was privileged to advocate for student rights and issues pertinent to students across campus. Whether it has been through researching and drafting strategic plans concerning excused absences for election days, or speaking with city council members and community activists to secure equitable voting access for students. This university is the premier institution for a holistic collegiate experience and education that equips students for their careers and beyond. We hope to ensure this continued support of student need while also bridging the gap in areas across campus that require advocacy and accountability from student representatives.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Mallory Hudson, and I'm the VP candidate on the Sutherland Hudson ticket. I have adored the University of Kentucky my entire life, whether it was attending football and basketball games or seeing a family friend's framed diploma. I knew this university was something special. These nearly 800 acres represent possibility, passion, and hope for a better future. Today, I'm standing in front of you all on the institution's 157th birthday. I'm confident Isaac and I possess both the skills and the passions to be agents of change for this campus community. I've been involved with the Student Government Association since freshman year, where I was able to evolve as a leader both personally and professionally, and to form connections with administrators like President Dr. Eli Capilouto in the Leadership Development Program. Additionally, this year, I've had the privilege to serve the UK community as the Director of Marketing and Communications, where I have managed the largest team in SGA and learned how to invite students to the table and to advocate for them. Not to mention, engagement is at an all-time high. I have been preparing to serve the University of Kentucky in this capacity my entire life as a strong leader and a Kentuckian of 20 years. Leading with communication, with empathy, and advocacy, I'm confident that Isaac and I are the team to not only lead SGA, but to grow with it as well. Bridging the gap doesn't stop when we're elected. It begins.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. And our next opening statement will be given by our presidential candidate, Lydia Deaton, and our vice presidential candidate, Landry Woodrum.
So, hi everyone, my name is Lydia Deaton,
I'm Landry Woodrum.
and we are obviously candidates for student body president and vice president. First of all, I'd like to thank the moderator and the SGA for putting on this debate. It's a great opportunity to speak to y'all. And I would also like to thank everyone for coming out. It really speaks to your character and how much you care about this university that you took the time out of your busy schedule to come out here and meet with us. Now, when I first toured UK and I walked around campus and I met the students here, I knew that this was the place where I belonged. And that is what made me decide to come here.
I had a similar experience to Lydia. I grew up in a small town about an hour and a half south of here. From a very young age, I knew I wanted to be a Wildcat, but it did not come easily. Had to put in a lot of hours and hard work in high school to make this dream come true, and I'm sure that's something most people in this room can relate to.
Yeah, so when I first got here, this place was everything I hoped it could be. I felt like I could achieve anything that I set my mind to and that I was a part of something here. The people here, the community here, the activities, everything about this place made me feel like this was where I was meant to be. But last semester, I looked around and I barely recognized this place. And the more and more thought I gave it, it felt like the place that I had fallen in love with was slowly slipping away. And I don't think that I'm the only person who's ever felt like that.
That's why Lydia and I are running. We're frankly tired of watching this place slowly fade away and no longer feel like the university that we fell in love with and made us come here. We're running to make sure that UK stays the place that made us all want to be Wildcats, and there are a few simple ways we're going to take action to ensure that.
So our platform is built around reestablishing community, taking care of students, and making sure everyone feels safe on campus. And a few things that we want to do this is to revamp Campus Ruckus and make sure upperclassmen can participate, address infrastructure issues like the Wi-Fi on campus that just never seems to work, and invest in student mental health by taking steps to improve our campus safety through initiatives like raising the wage for night shift workers.
I know that there's a lot of us in this room tonight who are thinking the same way that we are. This place needs a change. Lydia and I have never been involved in SGA before, but we're stepping into the arena because we know that we can make a difference in the lives of our fellow students. And that SGA needs voices who understand the issues that are really on students' minds, and leaders prepared to mobilize student government's massive budget and significant influence to address those issues while in office.
Thank you. Please give him a round of applause. Really good. All right, I don't know about you all, but after listening to those responses, I'm really excited about what's going to come for the rest of the night. So here we go. I'm going to offer you the first question for tonight that each of you will have an opportunity to answer. The question is pretty loaded, so give me a minute to get through both of the questions for your first. The question is, what is your external communication plan for your diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives? How will you address past injustices, and what kinds of commitments will you be requiring from your current peers, students, administration, and the Lexington community? We will start with presidential candidate Isaac Sutherland and vice presidential candidate Mallory Hudson.
Obviously, diversity and things of this nature are at the forefront of our campaign, are at the forefront of what we want to push when we're in office. As the Director of Marketing and Communications, I'm so aware that we have to go meet students where they're at. If a student is struggling, in these areas, we can't expect them to come to us and to ask for help. We have to recognize these issues as a team and go to them, and that's something that I feel we are very, very prepared to do.
Yeah, and on top of that, I think it isn't just inviting people to the table, but it's giving them the opportunity to speak. And with that, we need to be more equitable. Not just are we trying to invite these people in and say, if you'd like to speak, you can. We want to give them the tools, the resources, the knowledge they need to speak, and you can see that on our platform.
Thank you. At this time, we would like for Lydia Deaton as well as Landry Woodrum to also respond to the same question.
Sure. So, in terms of making sure that we're including everyone on campus, it's really, really important to us that we meet with everyone. And when I mean everyone from the smallest club to the largest fraternity on campus. That's something that's super, super important to us, especially coming from a background where I'm a woman and I studied engineering, and that's typically not a combo that you see a lot. So I don't understand everything when it comes to diversity and inclusion, but I definitely understand that sometimes it's very difficult to find where to reach out. So it's our goal and our initiative to make sure that we find these organizations and we give them a seat at the table, no matter what that looks like. Whatever they need, we will provide.
And I think the biggest way that we're going to do that in terms of legitimate policy is if we are elected, we plan to meet with every single student organization on campus that will meet with us toward the beginning of our term, and working with their leadership team to figure out what their goals are for the semester. So that's everything from the French Club to the Black Student Union to the Ag Ed Society. Whatever it is, anybody that wants to work with us and help improve their enrollment has an opportunity to do that, and that means everybody.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Next, we would like for presidential candidate Andrew Laws and vice presidential candidate Amelia Pace to answer the same question.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think first and foremost, when me and Amelia select our executive committee, which is essentially our cabinet, we have to make sure that this is diverse and inclusive of all genders, sexualities, national origin, all that, because it's just so important to have a student government that is reflective of the student body as a whole. And I also really plan to work very closely with the VIP Center to ensure that all students from minority backgrounds are able to report incidents of racism or discrimination, just so they can have that outlet to feel like they belong here.
Additionally, I think another key group of our campus that tends to get left out often is our graduate and professional students. So I've had the honor of working with many graduate and professional students this past year through my committee, and I understand the unique needs that they face, and they often get neglected when it comes to conversations about addressing our student bodies. So I would love to be able to ensure that their needs are as equally met as our undergrad, and just create a more inclusive and positive environment here at UK.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, you do have the opportunity to rebuttal. Is there anything that any one of our candidates would like to add?
No, ma'am.
Sure, I will go. UK is home to so many people from so many different backgrounds, and that's something that we should really, really be proud of. UK has students from all over the world and all over the state, along with all over the United States, and that's something that we should champion and continue to grow, because all of those different perspectives are something that makes us super bright and vibrant as a community, and something we should make sure is our #1 priority.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I have, like I said, as my position as A&R chairman, I've been able to meet with over 100 different student organizations, and I've seen just how important it is for those organizations that do cater towards maybe minority students to be included in the conversation. It's so easy for them to be kind of left behind sometimes, and it's important to use student government's resources to empower them. You know, I vividly remember the Omani Students Association. There are 19 students at UK from Oman, and this organization gives them the community to come together and just find their friends and get that community that they serve. So it's just so important to really allow them to all come together and just really have that shared space where they can all, you know, be together and just feel included on campus, which they of course are.
Thank you. All right, we are going to move to our second question of the night. In this question, we would like for presidential candidate Lydia Deaton, as well as vice presidential candidate Landry Woodrum, to answer first, okay? The second question is, as SGA continues to expand its representation on the executive, legislative, and judicial branches, how will you connect with students that are typically not engaged in SGA or on campus to get involved?
I think that kind of harkens back to what we talked about a little bit on the last question. Lydia and I have an interest in creating a sort of event where leaders of student organizations all over campus can come together and plan, collaborate, and I think that space is the best spot to get people together and make sure that they feel included. By getting people together with work to do, rather than just getting them together for no reason, we think we can create an environment of growth on campus where that clubs of any sort can expand alongside with SGA.
Beyond that, we think it's super, super important for all people to have the opportunity to participate in SGA. So, as you heard in our opening statements, neither Landry or I have previous SGA experience, and we want to make sure that students across the entire university know that they didn't have to go to a leadership program and they didn't have to have previous experience to be involved in SGA. We want them to know that it is for everyone and that we want their input.
Particularly because probably 6 out of 10 students here at UK don't even know SGA exists. They're completely unfamiliar, and we've ran into that on the campaign trail.
Thank you. For our second response of the night to that second question, we would like for presidential candidate Andrew Laws and vice presidential candidate Amelia Pace to weigh in.
Yeah, so this really goes back to one of our main principles of student belonging and engagement, because like I said earlier, student government is here to serve the student body. And I think part of it does a very good job of doing that, but like Landry said, a lot of people don't know or necessarily care what SGA does. So I think it's just so important to really promote our many, many programs to the students to show to them that we are here for them, we are here representing for them, and we're here to serve them. One thing me and Amelia really do want to promote is a semesterly organization summit. This is where all 600 different student organizations can all come together, talk with me and Amelia, talk with the UK administration, and just express their hopes and concerns and just tell UK what they need to be successful on campus, which we think will be so beneficial for all of them.
So working this past year with my various grants and other initiatives, I've noticed that one key issue that keeps arising is the lack of childcare on the University of Kentucky's campus. I understand that many of you in this room may not be parents or directly care for a child or loved one. However, this becomes a huge preventative measure when it comes to education as well as after-school activities. So I would love to be able to work with the child care grant program with ASA as well as the university administration to kind of alleviate that burden and essentially establish a permanent daycare that students won't have to feel so prohibited during the educational day as well.
Thank you. All right. For our next response, presidential candidate Isaac Sutherland, as well as vice presidential candidate Mallory Hudson. Please respond to the second question.
Thank you. I think this goes back to the first question, as Landry said, but even more so, I think it talks about engagement as a whole, especially with SGA among campus community. You know, our motto, our mission is bridge the gap, and I think that starts with us being more inter-organizationally focused, right? I think we have the resources and the ability to really organize organizations in a really impactful way. So for us, we have a couple ways we want to do that. As of now, you all fill out an all-student survey. You just have the ability to. With that, we used to have a position in the executive branch that would compile this data, analyze it, and then look for solutions that we can use to not only make the university better, but SGA better as a whole. So for us, we want to bring that position back, and then we have a certain pillar of ours that is educating the population. For us, that's going to look like instilling a UK SGA 101 initiative and UK 101 programming so that you understand as soon as you come onto campus, what does SGA even do? Because like Landry said, it's incredibly difficult to understand. In addition to that, we have all these opportunities for us to bring students in or invite them in, but we, again, have to go out and meet them. So I think that's something that our campaign team has done incredibly well. We've met with over 40 RSOs already on the campaign trail, and we are going to continue to hopefully meet with up to 60 by the time the election day starts, and we're going to continue to vote and meet with them after the election. I think that is a key pillar to our campaign.
All right, thank you. All right, well, I heard some things in all those responses that I honestly am interested. Does anybody have anything that they would like to respond to or add in that conversation?
I'd like to.
Of course.
I think it's worth noting that most people that are unfamiliar with SGA are also unfamiliar with its budget. Lydia approached me with the concept of running with her, and she told me that student government at the University of Kentucky has an annual budget of $800,000. Now, if I got 800 grand, I would drop out of college and buy a farm in cash and never step foot in this town again. But that's huge, guys, and that's our money. It comes out of our tuition checks. So a huge part of our campaign is running to spend that money well and usefully, like fixing the Wi-Fi if we can, fixing that huge pothole in front of the library. I mean, putting money in places where it matters to students.
I see a hand up. Would you like to add?
Yeah, so student government does have a very large budget. It's significant. But the truth is that so much of that money does go back into students. You know, it allows them to be successful. You know, like I said, my position has allowed me to fund all student organizations across campus. You know, I've been able to give them almost $130,000 just this year. And Amelia, her position allows her to give student government funding to parents that have children that they need to send to daycare so they can come to college here. So I think reducing SGA's budget is only doing harm to students. That is all it is doing. It is making SGA's resources less accessible to all of them, and will just make it, not as effective as it is right now.
I would like to add that I assume that you would like to have the budget of student allocation fees in the hands of students. We understand the needs as closely as any, and I believe that leaving this up to administration could have extremely negative consequences on the well-being of our campus as well.
Okay, just as a reminder, it's only one rebuttal per ticket, so just be mindful as we go through this. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes, I would just like to add that one of the responsibilities of the student body vice president is to oversee that student fee allocation distribution. So, we talk about this huge budget, but I would assume that students want to know exactly where that money's going. So with the VP kind of heading that initiative, something in our policy as well is we want to release SGA's budget reports. We want to be as completely transparent as possible because, at the end of the day, you deserve to know where your money's going.
Awesome, good job. All right, so we're going to move to our third question of the night. Our third question will go to, at least we will start with, our presidential candidate, Andrew Laws, as well as our vice presidential candidate, Amelia Pace. So for our third question, UK SGA represents all undergraduate, graduate, and professional and postdoctoral students enrolled at the university. What is your administration's goal or plan to support more than just undergraduate students?
So one of me and Amelia's principles, like I said, is student belonging and engagement, and that also includes our graduate and professional students. I've said before, these students are so important to campus. We might not see them, but they are still here, and they deserve to, get what they need to be successful on campus. So Amelia and I both have made some programs geared towards grad students to bring them on into SGA for representation within the Senate, which is obviously super important. And we just want to create programs geared towards them and allows them to kind of come onto campus more to the extent that they can and just have their voices heard, especially within UK SGA, because they are still here and they deserve to have a voice.
In addition to the child care grants, which I spoke about in our last question, another platform that we'd like to hopefully implement in our administration this next year is to encourage a fall break for all colleges, not just undergraduates on our campus as well. Law students, dentistry students, med students, they all work endlessly throughout fall and spring semester without a break, and we believe that in order to promote better mental health and awareness, we should be able to advocate for fall break for all of our students, not just undergrad.
Thank you. You're getting a lot of snaps on that one. Thank you so much. All right. We would like for both Isaac Sutherland and Mallory Hudson to be the next to answer that question.
Thank you. I think an important aspect of understanding the University of Kentucky as it is right now with an entire population of graduate, professional, and undergraduate students is that representation as we have it now. I think one thing that our campaign has done well and will hopefully continue to do is reach out to these undergraduate groups. But on top of that, we need, as a campaign, to reach out to graduate and professional students more, and that's what we intend to do on the campaign trail. Even more so, if you look at the policy we have into play, the policy we have is unilateral. That doesn't mean it's only for undergraduates, it's only for graduates, it's only for professionals. This means that it's applicable to every single student. And for us, that looks like releasing the budget report, having updates on the counseling center. All these things that are necessary for student involvement are not going to be discriminatory to undergraduate, professional, or graduate. And that's what our campaign is based off of.
Thank you. Lydia Deaton and Landry Woodrum, would you like to respond?
Sure. So, obviously, we love our graduate students because they are working super hard. Like, someone who's getting a doctorate degree in anything, or an MD is like working overtime. Those people have immense drive, and I commend them with my whole heart. And obviously, no one sitting on this stage is in graduate school. So it is our belief that we need to go to these people in the graduate school and find out what they need. Because I'm sure that they have so much that they need, and we just don't know because we're not grad students. And like Andrew and Amelia said, there is things that we can do, and just like Isaac and Mallory said, we need to make sure that our policy affects them just like it affects undergrads, so they're not left out in any part of the university, and especially not in the people that represent them.
And in terms of policy for enacting that, if we were to take office, I think the best thing to do would be to meet with the professional organizations for master's and graduate students, just to see what it is that they're after. That's part of our central plan for meeting with as many student organizations as possible, not just undergrad. So we want to get with them and determine what it is that they want from the university and how we can mobilize SGA's budget and connections to assist them.
Thank you. So I saw some pens writing as we were sitting and talking. I'm assuming there is a rebuttal or response to that. Would anybody like to add? Yes.
Yeah, so me and Amelia both have worked with grad student organizations as well as individual graduate students. So hearing from those organizations, like I said, grad students typically are not on campus. They really are kind of sometimes on the outskirts of, what UK really is here. But just providing them the opportunities through SGA funding to come and find their community within their grad student, school, whether it be dentistry school, medical school, whatever, is just super important because that allows them to be engaged and get the student experience that they deserve, even as grad students.
Are there any additional comments from our candidates tonight? Yes, Isaac.
Yeah, and I think a really big point to be made here is that there's a lot of advocacy that can be done in SGA, but there's also some tangible goals that could be established and created and really executed. So for us, one thing that we really want to do is go to where students are, and that's going to be critical for graduate and professional students because, as Andrew said, they don't come to campus. So we can't just set up a table near a building. We can't table for these people because they might not come to campus that frequently, and if they do, they're going straight to here, straight to work. It's a very accessible arena for them. So for us, we need to go and visit organizations, but also we want to talk to student leaders. And if you look at our platform, there's opportunity for that in anyone who wants to speak, not just organizational leaders.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This has honestly been a really big topic on our campus, so I really appreciate the thoughtfulness and responses that you all are providing tonight. We're going to move to our fourth question of the night, which is actually centered around student well-being and safety. So, student government has continued to work to support the university's strategic goal of enhancing the holistic wellness and safety for all students. This core mission and goal helps to garner and support working and learning environments where all students may flourish and thrive. What is your administration's plan to continue to support student well-being and safety on campus, and how would you effectively communicate such needs to the appropriate administrators? We will start, if I'm correct, we will start with Andrew, or is it Isaac? I can't remember. We'll start with Andrew. Andrew Laws, as well as Vice President Amelia Pace. Is it Isaac? I'm so sorry. Okay.
That's okay.
So sorry. Okay, so let's start with Isaac Sutherland as well as Mallory Hudson. I apologize for that.
So our campaign, us as individuals, we want to emphasize mental health just as much as physical health. A doctor would never look at someone with a broken leg and say, it's okay, go put a Band-Aid on it. So we can't tell students that are struggling, go find resources yourself. We have to provide those resources. And one of the things that we've hit really heavy on in our campaign is the influx of students who need to get into the UK Counseling Center but can't because they're just completely overflowed. So we want to bring in community resources on the university's dollar because every student deserves to feel like they're appreciated by the University of Kentucky.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you. Next will be Lydia and Landry. Would you like to answer that question?
Sure. So mental health is incredibly important to us as well. And one way that we really want to work on that is by making sure that there's permanent signage for every student so that when they have a problem, or maybe not everybody will need it, but those people that do need it, they don't have to do a Google search and go, well, am I calling the right number? Because we know that that's an incredibly taxing time. We want to make sure that we support you where you are. So making sure that that is everywhere, and that way people can get those resources when they need it. And beyond that, we want to make sure that just like Mallory said, that when you need help, those resources are there, and it's not a 6 to 8 week wait time. That is so long. If you had to wait 6 to 8 weeks to get a broken arm fixed, you'd be in real bad shape, real bad shape. So that's something that's really, really important to us as well.
In terms of policy, we want to start a seminar series for faculty, Res Life employees, and student leaders, like organizational leaders, to come and learn about spotting things like suicidality, substance abuse, and alleviating anxiety. Won't be mandatory because most of those people already have to go through plenty of training, but we think that'd be a great opportunity for people that don't have to learn. And as for physical safety on campus, it's worth noting that some things are lacking. Those blue light poles, I'd say about 10% of those are out at any given moment, non-functioning. Also, the dorms, safety in the dorms. We all remember the 860 dorm rooms that were broken into. That's not particularly safe. And it felt like every week last semester we would get an email about another sexual assault that occurred in the dorms on campus. So one solution we want to implement is increasing the wage of night shift workers here at the university so that we can get more RAs on the desk at a time at night just to get more eyes to spot criminal activity. SGA has limited jurisdiction. We're not the police. But we think that getting more RAs on the desk and paying them more for their time, working a third shift, would be a great first step.
Thank you. All right. Andrew and Amelia, would you like to respond at this time?
Yeah. So speaking on one of our 3 platforms, Holistic Health and Wellbeing, we want to ensure that your basic needs are met with tangible initiatives that we can put into practice through our time in administration. Speaking of which, we'd like to increase campus security through UKPD and residence life by installing more blue emergency towers like the Landry Woodrum campaign, or Woodrum Deaton, sorry, campaign mentioned as well, particularly in areas of Greek life where there's low visibility, as well as on prominent off-campus apartment paths such as Newtown Crossing, the Lex, our Kroger area. We want to ensure that students feel safe walking around our campus at all times. Additionally, we'd like to install QPR training in our UK 101 programs so that first-year students are able to recognize the signs of depression and suicide within themselves and others and promote a more positive environment in that way as well.
Yeah, one more thing, it's just super important that all students are aware of the resources available to them. You know, the Office of Student Success just has so many resources for mental health and physical health. You know, UHS is a great opportunity to go and, get COVID vaccines, COVID tests, all those opportunities, and it's just so important that we ensure that all students, especially new students, freshmen, are aware of all of these opportunities available to them to get the help that they need. We think that the QPR training would just be so important to give them that outlet to know, if I am struggling, I can go do this and I will get help quickly, and I think that is just super important and will make students' lives better, especially the younger students who tend to be the ones that struggle the most.
Thank you. Well, this is, like all the others, an extremely important topic. Is there anything that the candidates would like to add at this time?
Yeah, so guys, I have had some bad luck. My car has been broken into twice, and that just shouldn't happen to me, to anyone. No one should have to deal with that. So with that, we will really work on making sure that camera systems and things like the blue light that we've all talked about really do actually work. And so when bad things happen, they aren't made worse by people not being able to step in and help through that infrastructure just not being there.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody would like to add anything else? I see.
Yeah, I would just like to add. So in regards to the conversation on our counseling center, I think it's important to mention that our mental health cannot be outsourced to other individuals outside of our university campus. Oftentimes, I don't think people understand that there's often a very large copay that cannot be covered by health insurance, and just requiring students to be able to, first of all, find transportation, schedule their own appointments, as well as paying that copay. That can be a really uphill battle to fight with administration on mental health as well.
Thank you. Isaac, please.
Thank you. I think that's an important aspect to understand, right? Where is this bill going to go if we have to triage the wound of a mental health crisis on campus by outsourcing some of that need? Well, for us, as we said in our statement, it's on the university's dollar. So for us, that can be advocating to possibly the Dean of Students office or wellness office for that, but even more so, we can afford that in SGA to some degree to pay for these co-pays. I don't think we have to just shove these people out of the dark and say, you need to go and find help for yourself. We can be the liaison for that student need, and we can do that effectively.
Thank you so much. Really great answers. Thank you. All right, so for our next question, this is specifically to our student body presidential candidates. At this time, if you could please answer for us. Experience and engagement with the University of Kentucky administration, staff, and Board of Trustees is an integral part of being a student body president. What experiences do you have working with current or former administrators that would benefit you in this role? And how would you go about forming a trusting relationship with these critical stakeholders? We will go ahead and start with Lydia and Landry.
Sure. So it's important to note first that you can't build a trusting relationship if you don't know where someone else is coming from and how they're really doing. So it's important first of all, for me to bring my perspective and where I'm coming from, representing students to administrators, and also to hear administrators out and understand why all of these problems that we're talking about are extremely complicated. Nothing is just, hey, let's just pay more money for this, or let's just give another person this job and that will solve the problem. It's extremely complicated, and so it's important that I not only step up to the plate and really hear where they're at, but I'm incredibly diligent and purposeful in voicing concerns of students. And in terms of past experience, as I said, I've obviously not been on SGA before, so I've not worked specifically with the administration here at the university. However, I have served as an ambassador prior to coming to this role, and so I've worked with a lot of administrations, whether that be on the state level or the local level, in terms of getting things done and really understanding how we can solve those complex problems.
Thank you. Okay, presidential candidate Andrew Laws, would you like to respond?
Yeah, so it is obviously super important to have good relationship with these administrators like Dr. Capelouto, Dr. Monday, Dr. Turner, because they are the people, the go-to people for student government and the student body, and they are the ones that are choosing, what's going to happen to us, the student body. So I think one of the most important things is just working well with them, communicating with them, showing them that you are representing the students. You're not just there as an individual student there for yourself just to be buddies with them. You have to show that you are here for the students, like you are representing their interests. I think it's just important that you really make sure that they respect you and know that your ideas are realistic and tangible and can be done. You're not just tossing off, throwing them a notepad at them when you meet with them. In terms of my personal communication with Dr. Capelouto and them, I'll admit I've never sat down for lunch with Dr. Capelouto yet, unfortunately, but I think it's just super important just to show them that you are here on behalf of the student body and you want to work with them. And because we have the shared goal, me and Amelia, Dr. Capelouto, and all of them of making students' lives better and just showing that you are there for that purpose will just take your relationship far and beyond with them and allow us to be so successful in our policy goals.
Thank you. Presidential candidate Isaac Sutherland, would you like to respond?
Thank you. I think an important piece to this is, where does advocacy begin? And does it begin when we start our campaign? Did it begin beforehand? Does it begin as soon as we maybe get into office? I think it starts beforehand. So for us, in the leadership development program, we were able to meet a lot of administrators, and that was really helpful. But we didn't just stop there. For myself, I've been able to be a part of building these programs with the Dean of Students. We've worked on some really incredible stuff. We meet Thursday to build a mental health program that can be pushed out to all student organizations, and we're doing that now. So can you just imagine what we can do whenever we have the platform to do incredible things, not only mobilizing SGA, but that Board of Trustees vote, right? The vote isn't meaningless. It's not symbolic. That vote is incredibly impactful. For us, we may be picking the next president of this university on that next cycle. With that, you have to understand not only the administrators, but understand that the administrators respect you and your voice. And we're doing that now, and we'll continue to do that regardless of the election results, and we'll meet with administrators.
Thank you so much.
That's right.
All right. I feel like at this time we would also like to hear from our vice presidential candidates. So this question is specifically for you all. As student body vice president, you often serve in a supportive role to the president while also leading the the Student Senate as Senate President. How do you plan on creating a positive working relationship with the student body president while ensuring effective legislation is passed in the Senate? We will go ahead and start with Vice Presidential candidate Amelia Pace.
Considering that I've been serving on Senate for the past 2 years, I do think that I'm qualified to go forward leading Senate as well, because I am actually the only candidate who has Senate experience on our campaign as well. I've been working with Andrew for the past year on Senate Exec, and we've been able to pass tremendous legislation and have like a really great impact, as well as our communication skills. I think we work well together collaboratively to ensure that we're meeting the needs of student organizations as well as individuals, and we would love to continue that growth as well within our administration next year. I believe that Senate has the power to make great change, and I think that the elected officials of that body are very capable, and they're well qualified to be leading our Senate to the next future. And I would just be essentially the presence there that encourages them and motivates them to do their best work as well.
Thank you. Vice Presidential candidate Mallory Hudson, would you like to respond?
Yes. So Isaac actually asked me to be his VP in October. I made him wait for 2 weeks, just had to, keep it exciting, keep him on the edge. But not only have we been working together on the SGA executive team this entire year, but we've been working on this campaign since November. We have been working on exec initiatives together, and we are ready to translate that to legislative initiatives as well, dealing with the Senate.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Vice Presidential candidate Landry Woodrum, would you like to respond?
So I think the best way for me to be effective at my job working with Lydia is to maintain a close relationship. Lydia and I have known each other since we were in, middle school? Something like that. We were in 4-H together growing up here in Kentucky. And in terms of effective legislation, I think the important thing is to communicate with her and senators about what we're trying to get done in the Student Senate. Never have any sort of gaps in communication, always be talking to everybody. As for my experience with something like managing the Student Senate and being the vice president of the university, last year I served as the president of the largest youth development organization in the state of Kentucky, Kentucky 4-H. Spent a year handling tens of thousands of dollars and something like 200,000 members across the state. So I'm ready to translate those skills and get to work with Lydia.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, well, we're going to move on to our next question. And our next question is particularly about your leadership roles that maybe you currently occupy at this time, okay? So the question is, how have you served students through your previous leadership positions on campus, and how will you translate that to the work that you do within SGA? We'll go ahead and start with presidential candidate Isaac Sutherland and Mallory Hudson.
Thank you. I think to represent students, you have to be in student spaces that not a lot of people have the ability to be into and really go to these spaces equitably. So for us, that means in SGA, we have the experience of being leaders in the executive branch. The executive branch was chosen by this leadership team, this administration, and we've done our job effectively. On top of that, we're both in Greek life, and we both serve as executive members of that Greek life community. For that, there's a lot of logistics that need to be passed. We take care of an entire body of individuals, and we do so hopefully in the best way possible. Especially in the fall, there were a lot of instances that were really difficult, and we took leadership roles in not only finding solutions for the entire campus community, but we found issues for our own chapters as well. I think that showcases how we not only are going to affect the thousands of people this campus holds, but the one individual that needs just a little bit of help.
I think in addition to that, Student Government Association kind of has 2 main pillars, right? The advocacy portion and the financial portion, how much money we appropriate, how we give back to students in that realm as well. So Isaac and I are very, very well versed in the advocacy realm of Student Government Association in our roles that we've held this year, and we are also ready to translate that onto when we're elected into these roles.
Thank you. Lydia Deaton, Landry Woodrum, would you like to respond?
Yeah, so while I have not held an SGA position and I'm not a senator with 3 years of experience, I believe that that doesn't inherently make me unqualified to represent students at UK. Just like many of you here, I'm sure that there is something that you decided that you were uniquely qualified to do, and you went after it, and you took the initiative to get those leadership roles. And so I believe that that doesn't necessarily make me unqualified. And in terms of what I do for students at UK, I actually serve as a TA. So freshmen in electrical engineering see my shiny face twice a week when they plug circuit boards together. And I'm sure some of them really, really don't like seeing me because it's some of their least favorite classwork. But that's something that I can do and that I am good at and I can give back in. And so translating those skills means really taking the time to get to know students and see where they're at, and also just understand that you don't necessarily need to know it. You can always understand where people are and learn from the people ahead of you.
As for me, I'm rather involved on campus. I was kind of locked out freshman year because of COVID and 4-H. I was not allowed to rush, not allowed to participate in a lot of things because I was traveling 4 or 5 days a week with 4-H. And but now I've jumped right in. I'm a brother of Alpha Gamma Rho, or at least I will be on Wednesday. I'm the only representative from the College of Agriculture here on the stage tonight, which is the 4th largest college here at the University of Kentucky. And you can't really count arts and sciences because there's like a lot going on in there. But I'm the only representative of the College of Agriculture, and I'm ready to represent that enormous group of students here at the university, working with Lydia. I won't go in any more into my experience, but as for involvement, I sit on the 4-H Foundation Board, which handles hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's actually a sub-board of the College of Agriculture here at the university.
Thank you. Andrew and Amelia, I'm interested in hearing your thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I said, me and Amelia both won the Senate for about 2 years each. And our positions both are pretty much the definition of advocacy through student government. You know, my position as Appropriations and Revenue Chairman has allowed me to meet with just so many, almost 100 student organizations to understand their funding need and how SGA can best serve their needs. I've been involved as a senator since I was just a little freshman. Unfortunately, the first year was spent on Zoom, but now I'm on exec. In addition to that, I also serve. I'm a proud member of Beta Theta Pi. I'm also the Interfraternity Council Vice President of Judicial Affairs, which allows me to represent all 19 IFC chapters on this campus. And obviously, it's been a lot this year to work with since the tragedy last semester, but we really have tried to advocate for those chapters just to make the community as safe as possible. Mallory also mentioned the 2 pillars of SGA, which is advocacy and the financial aspect. And me and Amelia both, through our positions, have been able to literally get so involved in those 2 aspects because we advocate for students and student organizations, and we're able to use SGA funds to help them. So I think that just makes us the most qualified to advocate.
So if someone told me a year ago that I was going to be in the position that I was today, I don't think I would have believed them. Someone in SGA encouraged me to run for the Academic and Student Affairs Chair, and I embraced that challenge with open arms, and I cannot say enough high words about it. I have learned incredible experiences, such as communicating with other people on our Senate exec, as well as responding quickly to conflict, as well as just really getting into the needs of students and understanding that perspective outside of my own. And I have been so honored to grow in that leadership as well. And I would love to be able to use that as vice president next year.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I did see a few head nods, so I feel like there may be some thoughts to what was just shared in response to that question. I'm looking specifically at Isaac, so I feel like, do you want to go first? I see your head nodding. Would you like to respond?
Yeah, thank you. I think an important part of this advocacy piece is understanding the executive branch of SGA's role. So I currently serve as the Director of Government Relations and Civic Engagement, and that is in itself advocacy beyond just the university, right? We're going to Frankfurt, we're going to DC, and we're going to advocate for things that are critical to the university. For us, that's going to look like us shutting down bills that might not be good for the university, us advocating bills that would be good for the university, looking at stuff like mental health days that are just going K through 12 through Frankfurt that we'd love to have for higher education. Even more so, we're planning a trip for SEC in DC. That program advocates for students in the SEC at the federal level. And we're going to do that regardless of the election because that's something that is critical to the university and to the students as a whole.
Really good. Thank you. Anybody else would like to add? I see your hand go up. Andrew, would you like to add something?
Yeah, so one thing Lydia mentioned is just being unqualified, and I do agree with you completely that you don't have to be, in the Senate for 2 years or on exec for a year to be student body president. But like we said, student government is a big, big organization. It has a lot of members both on the Senate and on the exec side, and the budget is $800,000. You have to have experience within student government to just lead as the president because you have to know the internal operations because it's not simple. There's 3 standing committees. There's so many exec members, and they all have coordinators that help them out. And it's just so important to understand how that functions, how all those things work together, because it really is like a fine-tuned system of all these gears running together. And really, if one thing goes wrong, a lot of stuff can get messed up. So it's just important to kind of know how the internal operations of SGA functions in order to lead it. Me and Amelia both personally think that.
Yeah, Andrew, I understand that your comment was pointed directly at me, but I'm going to go ahead and let my vice president respond on that.
Well, we're not unfamiliar with administrating large organizations. I mean, Lydia and I were both very involved in 4-H, which I will reiterate is the largest youth development organization in the state of Kentucky. We both served as officers at the district level. I served at the state. Running something this big is nothing new to us. We just became interested once we figured out how much money it has access to on an annual basis and what good we could put that to.
Yeah, and it's, like I would say, it's Landry has talked a lot about the money because that is important to us and that's important to students. But beyond that, I am quite frankly tired of looking around and looking for the people who are fighting for me. And every time I email them and every time I reach out, I get nothing back. And so while I understand your point that we need Senate experience or we need exec experience, I would hate to see anyone be told they can't do something just because they don't have experience.
Thank you. And here's where it gets spicy. That's what I like. I like to see all that. Okay. So we did come up to time, and each one of you had an opportunity to rebuttal. So we have to go on to the next question. Although I love the energy and the synergy that just took place with that last question. We're going to circle back around to diversity and inclusion, okay? And so we'll start with Lydia as well as Landry on this question, but talk to us a little bit about diversity and inclusion. The University of Kentucky strives to be a diverse and inclusive community for all students and calls on the entire campus to shape that journey. What has been your specific commitment to diversity and inclusion during your time at UK? And if elected, what would your administration's plan be to further this commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion? What would that look like?
Well, I think I'll kick us off. First, I'd like to mention a role model of mine. Her name is Dr. Mia Farrell. She's the Dean of Diversity and Inclusion at the College of Agriculture. And I've worked with Dr. Farrell for several years at this point because she cooperates with 4-H. And she has taught me a lot about how to be an inclusive leader. And I got to put that into practice in 4-H, and I'm ready to do it here at UK. But while we've been on the campaign trail, we made a point to speak at several different organizations targeted for minority students, particularly Manners, which is an organization that works with minority students in fields in agriculture. We went and had a forum with them, came to see what they had to say, and have implemented some of those policies in our policy platforms.
Yeah, and beyond that, in my personal experience, I am so passionate about getting women involved with STEM. And I know that that's not a huge diversity platform here at the university, but I think it's important that not only in STEM, but in every major and in every field, along with at the graduate level, students are represented, and they feel like when they look around in class and when they look around, they see people like them. And the only way that we can do that, quite frankly, is to recruit those students to go on and to reach for their dreams and to come here instead of coming to another university where they feel like they're not represented. I want everyone to feel represented here.
I will also note that Lydia is the only female presidential candidate.
Absolutely. Okay, so Andrew and Amelia, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so diversity is super important to me and Amelia because, as I said before, Student government represents the student body. UK is so diverse, students come from all different walks of life, and when a student looks at student government, they don't feel represented if they aren't. So it's super important just to, both on the Senate and the exec side, to be diverse, to have representation so students can see that SGA is legit, that it really represents the diversity of UK's campus and the 30,000 undergrads. So my personal experience with diversity and inclusion is in my fraternity, Beta Theta Pi. I am a member of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee. As we know, fraternities historically are not too diverse. So we're really trying to work closely with the UK and IFC to kind of make sure that Greek life specifically can really be inclusive and all students can feel welcome in these big organizations. Obviously, they're a big part of campus. And also in my position as A&R chair, I've been able to, like I said before, work with minority organizations. And these organizations historically are underserved and underrepresented. So it's just so important to know, like have someone representing the student body who's worked with these smaller organizations so they can know that their needs are being heard and being voiced to the university so they have the tools they need to succeed.
Going along with that, if elected vice president, as the president of our Senate, I will uphold the expectation that every student feels that they can voice their opinion throughout our Senate meetings. What this looks like is ensuring that there's proper training involved at the beginning of our Senate, and ensuring that the expectation is heard that you can voice your opinion because they are the representatives of our student body, and they are elected to advocate for your best interest and ensure that no voice goes unheard in that manner as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, last but not least, Isaac and Mallory.
Thank you. I think a critical piece to this is understanding that to be diverse and equitable and inclusive, we have to listen, and that is the first pillar of that, right? So for us, our entire campaign has been listening. We started this so long ago because we wanted to make policy not just coming out of our hat or from someone who's been in SGA before. We wanted to have it from the students. We have a specific initiative that we went to an organization, we talked about our platform, and they said, we would really like to have an emphasis put on a mental health card. And you know what? That's going to be on our platform now, something we can advocate for. So us not only being able to just advocate for students from an administrative perspective, but listening to them, hearing where they are, meeting them where they are, and going forward.
Also, I know Andrew and Amelia mentioned in their policy that they want to invite students to come speak at Senate meetings, which is an amazing idea to have students come voice their table and give them that seat at the table. However, we can't expect students to come to us. If there's one thing I've learned as the Director of Marketing and Communications, is that we go out into the community and we spread SGA information that way. We don't hang up our marketing material in the SGA office and invite students to come see it. We go out, we make the effort, and we meet students where they're at.
Thank you. Now, as always, I would like to give you all an opportunity to respond to anything that you've just heard in those responses. Absolutely. Would you like to go ahead, Landry, and share?
Well, if there's one more thing I'd like to talk about is that there's another underserved group here at this university that is not often spoken about, and I am from that region, that is Appalachia in the state of Kentucky. I'm from Casey County, Kentucky. Also, I went to high school in Boyle County, but I spent my childhood down there on our family's farm. I'll be the first man in my family to get a college degree, assuming I make it over the next 2 years, and it's extremely important. Oh, thank you. It's extremely important to me to give other boys and girls from rural Kentucky, not just Appalachia, a feeling of belonging here at UK. You know, when they open their mouth and they have an accent, they don't sound ignorant. That if anybody gives them any trouble, that they have channels to go through so that they can feel accepted here at UK just like anybody else. So serving as student body vice president, I would like to take a unique mission to help that group of young people that I belong to.
Thank you, Landry. And we're going to go ahead and claim it. You're going to make it. Absolutely.
We'll see about it. I'm in accounting 201 right now.
Okay. All right. Is there anybody else who would like to respond at this time? Absolutely. Andrew?
Yeah, I think one other really important thing, at least when it comes to inclusion, is, as we talked about, our grad and professional students that are historically underserved and underrepresented within SGA. and especially minority graduate students who are, double underserved historically. So I think it's super important that we do reach out to them and, let them know that, hey, SGA is here to represent you, and we have these services. We want you to come talk at our Senate meetings. We want you to be heard. And I think just showing them that we are here and we are here to invite them to come speak to us, I think that'll go super far and just really let them know that, SGA is here to serve them.
Thank you. Thank you. Sounds like you got some fans in the crowd, Andrew. All right. Are there any additional responses? Yes, Isaac.
Thank you. I think a big piece to this is acknowledging right now that UKSGA is not as diverse as it needs to be. And with that, we had almost 8 or 9 Senate positions that were just completely void whenever we met the deadline. And that's an issue. So for us, we can't just have things in our office. We can't have tables in the Student Center. We have to go out and meet these people. So for us, it comes down to the executive board going out and recruiting these people. So for us, that's something we've done on the campaign trail continuously, and we want to do that further on. We need to recruit minorities. We need to recruit people that are not from Appalachia, that are from Appalachia. We need to recruit all these people into SGA and welcome them in and equip them. One thing that has not been talked about yet is the Power of the Leadership Development Program and upgrading that program to invite not just freshmen, but sophomores and juniors, and making that program something that can be a staple for equipping students across the university.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. This is actually our last question before we go into final statements. This question is related to student well-being and safety. It's known that the current pandemic has disrupted the lives of all students on our campus and around the world. How do you plan to conduct an effective and frequent initiatives with the administration to combat our students' specific needs? We will go ahead and start with Andrew and Amelia.
Yeah, so unfortunately, as we all know, COVID is still very present here. We're all wearing masks here. We still sometimes sit social distance in class, and it is really unfortunate. I'm sure all of us want it gone. It's been here for 2 years. But we think it is so important that although, yes, COVID may be, decreasing and increasing here and there, it's just really important to follow, city, Lexington guidelines, state guidelines, and federal guidelines because they're setting the standard for colleges and universities, which are places where students all come together and interact and can easily spread COVID and get people sick. So we really do plan to follow those guidelines in terms of the university, and we hope the university is doing that now, and we will certainly continue that if elected. And also, though, in that, relating to that, we want to make sure that students' voices are heard. We have to make sure that all students, their voices can be heard when it comes to, masks and all that, just to make sure that they are being represented and it's equitable for all students and the same standards are set for professors and students because it's only fair if everyone is subject to the same rules. There can't be special accommodations. And we think that really will just, make people safe from COVID as we hopefully get away from it in the next few years. Well, next year, hopefully, and we don't have to wear masks. We think that is the best path.
Going along with that, I think one of the biggest expectations that we have for ourselves in the administration is ensuring that students' needs are met as equally as they are for faculty. So a seemingly good proposal on the outside might have some inherent flaws that could ultimately hurt students in the process, and we want to make sure that we nip those in the bud before they become issues. For example, I think that one of the most important things I'd like to move forward with next year is ensuring that there are always excused absences for COVID-related absences, essentially. Making sure that that's an equal statement in all syllabi, I think, is a really important initiative that we would like to take on as well.
And one other thing, too, is I think UK has done a great job promoting vaccines. Hopefully, most people here are vaccinated. I think continuing the programs that we have in place now with rewards for vaccines should be continued.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Isaac and Mallory, can you please respond?
Thank you. I think an important aspect of this entire COVID piece is one that we have to trust the science of that. The university goes by CDC guidelines, Fayette County guidelines, and we're going to support them in that. But I think there's also a piece to be said that student needs are a huge factor for that. So for us, we want to look at a couple of different things. That's going to go back to mental health. Mental health issues don't stop whenever COVID stops. So for us, we need to continue to support the counseling center and continue to have these organizations that are really going to be safekeepers for these people's mental health. So for us, that looks like working with the Dean of Students and other administrations to revamp the event policy that doesn't make it as difficult or as tedious for us to have an event that is safe, equitable, and honestly, really diverse.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, and Lydia and Landry, would you like to respond?
Yes. So, throughout the past 2 years, we have taken all of our time and energy and we have protected each other. And we've done that by wearing our masks and getting vaccinated. But it's now time that we really step up and take care of each other. We have to reach out to those around us and we have to make sure that we're not letting people slip through the cracks, that we're taking care of each other's mental health, and that we're moving forward. There is a light at the end of the tunnel and we can't just idly sit by and wait for that to happen. And Amelia, I loved your idea about making sure that missed days for COVID and missed days for that kind of illness always gets taken care of. That was an amazing idea. Beyond that, we need to make sure that we are safe and we are following the guidelines set by the state, but that this is not at the detriment of the school's mental health and our vibrant community.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think in terms of policy, what that looks like is the university closely following the state of Kentucky's position on COVID-19 and what mandates should look like in public places. That way, UK is not an island in the middle of the state of Kentucky, and that is whatever that may be. Governor Beshear come out and say anything, I believe UK ought to follow it if the legislature approves it. Once again, I'd like to say, Amelia, I really like that idea about missed days. I lost my grandmother to COVID in April last year, and I did not get excused absences to go home for her funeral, so I think that is really nice. But once again, I just think consistency is important, that we follow the state of Kentucky when it comes to COVID policy and that policy remain consistent in between colleges and buildings here on campus.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, is there anything that you all would like to add related to that question? Okay. So at this time, we're going to go into final statements. Please remember that your statements are set to be about 3 minutes, and you should not go beyond that. And we will actually start with both Isaac and Mallory for our closing statement. Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. Okay. Please go ahead.
So there's a personal kind of motto that I attribute to my success in past leadership roles that will help drive my work and my initiatives in the role of student body vice president. You never worry about numbers. You help one person at a time and always start with the person nearest you. If Isaac and I can help even one student at the university to feel more connected, more passionate, or more included, not only in SGA, but also in the university as a whole, our job will have been well worth it. When you assist one student, you truly help to assist them all by meeting both graduate and undergraduate students where they're at, by listening to understand and then seeking to be understood, by building personal connections with student organizations like we've already done with over 40 RSOs. We will be the catalyst for change that this university and that you will most benefit from. When you vote to bridge the gap, you're not voting for Isaac, you're not voting for me, you're voting to enhance the campus community of the University of Kentucky with experienced, innovative, and advocacy-driven leaders at the forefront of that initiative.
By now, you've hopefully seen some form of our campaign material across campus. If you observe any of our material, you'll notice that the center of our branding is stamped by our mantra, Bridge the Gap. Our names are present, but second to our mission. That's because you're not voting for just people in this election. You're not voting for an idea or a policy or an experience. You're voting for a mission and a zeal that propagates itself from our team and our ticket. We've demonstrated continuously in our tenure here at UK that we are committed to supporting students and not only inviting students to the table, but equipping them to share their voice and create tangible change. Regardless of the election results, we will continue to advocate for students and listen to the needs of our constituents. We've been privileged to create these policies and this platform by hearing our students and our organizations. These are not political thrillers. They are your own peers' ideas, passions, and hopes. When you go to select your first choice in representing yourself in the University of Kentucky, we hope that you vote dutifully and in a manner that demonstrates to those sitting next to you today that you are not just a vote. You're a voice. You're a contributing member of this institution, and you deserve to have an SGA that will meet you where you are and support you as a member of this Wildcat family.
Thank you. All right. At this time, we want to take final statements from both Lydia Deaton and Landry Woodrum.
Since I study engineering, I had a lot of options nationally to study at different universities, but I decided to come here because I fell in love with UK. I fell in love with this place, its people, and its atmosphere. And I've been here both before and during COVID, and I've seen the effects that it has had on their university. Our campaign is ready to reignite UK, its sense of community, through common sense policy and cooperation between all, and I mean every, student organization on campus.
Coming to UK was hardly a choice for me. It's the best program in the state in terms of agriculture. I'm also a legacy. My mother went here to UK and studied agriculture. And I had to work really hard in high school. Worked a day job after school to save money to afford tuition and housing. But, now looking back, it's been worth it. Even though I've only ever attended UK during COVID, I've come to believe that this place is worth fighting for, which is why I signed up with Lydia to try and reignite UK.
And while it's been made painfully aware that I may be underqualified, I refuse to stand by as the place that we've loved slowly fades away. We're in this race because our community needs people who are willing to stand up, stand firm, and fight to reignite this campus.
I grew up on a cattle farm in south central Kentucky. Growing up like that taught me a lot of lessons. Work hard, take care of your people, and when a gate is open with cattle in the field, you need to shut that gate. There are an abundance of open gates here at the University of Kentucky, and they need shutting. Lydia and I are ready to get to work on the sense of community, state of mental health services, and making campus a safer place, and on any other issue brought to our attention by the students that we would love to represent.
We are ready to bring this office to the public eye of students by working with every single organization on campus and any student who will meet with us to achieve their goals, by collaborating with the Senate to pass meaningful legislation that fixes the real problems that irritate students on a daily basis. This is what it truly means to represent the student body to the administration and to the state. And on February 28th, we hope that you'll remember our ticket promises to always, and I mean always, fight for you, fight for common sense solutions to real problems, and to make sure that UK remains the place that you chose to come to, whether that was 6 months ago or 3.5 years ago. Please vote Deaton Woodrum at the end of the month. Thank you.
My God.
Thank you. And last but not least, Andrew and Amelia, please give us your closing statement.
So ever since the first day I stepped on the University of Kentucky's campus, I have fallen in love with it more and more every single day. And unfortunately, I can't stay here for my entire life and well into my 80s. I think that Andrew and I are able to make meaningful and real change on campus that promotes a positive culture. We're not trying to tear down any sort of university policy, but we want to continuously improve and make progress in a forward-thinking manner. It's been a great honor to lead in the leadership roles that we have in the past year, and I believe that makes us very well qualified to move into our presidency and vice presidency this next year. We want to dedicate our policy to sincere and meaningful change that always puts your student needs first. We believe in making a daily commitment to listening to you and gathering feedback and eliciting that through all of our decision-making processes.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I said in our opening statement, the Law Space campaign is not a campaign against anyone. It is a campaign for all of you. It is a campaign to improve UK, improve the conditions of the student body, and just make sure that all students are being served in the best way possible and getting the college experience they deserve and are paying for. I believe that me and Amelia are passionate advocates and proven leaders through our experience in the Senate, and we are well prepared to be advocates for the student body. As we talked about, the two pillars of student government are financial and advocacy. We both have firsthand experience advocating for students as well as understanding the complex financials of student government and how to give student fee money back to students. And ultimately, our policies, we're dedicated to real and tangible policies that can be done, that can be achieved. Changing anything, within UK is a big deal. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes dedication. And I believe that Amelia and I both, working with the administration are dedicated to all of you, dedicated to policy that will improve your lives and always uphold your best interests. So next week on February 28th and March 1st, the Laws and Pays campaign would truly appreciate your first preference vote, as we are proud to be advocates for the student body as a whole. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I'll tell you what, after hearing all of your responses tonight, I want to actually congratulate and celebrate each one of you because your responses were very thoughtful, definitely representative of our student body. So please give them a round of applause for all of the effort that they have put into this. We really appreciate it. And I would be more than honored to work with any one of you. So congratulations. All of that said, as they shared, please make sure that you get out and vote. This discussion and debate does not end here. It really begins on our voting day. So please encourage your friends, you all as well. Please make sure that you get out and vote as soon as possible. Have a great evening, and thank you for sharing your time with us.